Today, on Wednesday, a third set of housing market stabilization measures under the Lee Jae-myung administration was announced to stabilize the overheating market, focusing on Seoul and its surrounding regions. For more on the policies, we have our economics correspondent Park Jun-an here in the studio to walk us through the new housing regulations that will take effect tomorrow. Good evening, Jun-an.
Great to be back, Tommy.
So, Jun-an, let's start with the third round of expansion on the regulated zones and walk us through the reason behind the third round.
That's right, Tommy. So as you just mentioned, the government with related agencies announced the third housing market plan after introducing loan restrictions in June and a housing supply plan in September. And starting Thursday, which is tomorrow, all 25 Seoul districts and 12 regions in Gyeonggi-do province where investment is actively concentrated are considered the country's regulation zones. The plan was introduced to prioritize residential stability under the principle of managing the real estate market stably by balancing both demand and supply aspects. Let's take a listen to what the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Economy and Finance had to say about the reason behind implementing such housing measures.
To ensure housing stability, the government will manage the real estate market in a balanced manner, considering both supply and demand, while imposing actual residency requirements for home purchases and strengthening regulations on loans and taxation.
Also, these regulated areas are subject to a 2-year mandatory residency requirement to curb purchasing houses only for investment purposes. From October 12th until December 31st of 2026, property deals involving regulated areas will require local approval and proof of genuine residency intent. The government said it will decide on whether to extend the measure depending on market conditions.
Jun-an, along with expanding regulated zones, today's announcement also included stricter and tighter lending loans. Walk us through the proposed tighter mortgage intentions then.
Right, Tammy. There are actually two things we should take a look at. And the first thing is the loan-to-value ratio rules. And the second one is a mortgage regulation that caps the maximum amount a person can borrow. For the 37 affected regions, the loan-to-value ratio will go down from the current 70% to 40%, meaning home buyers must provide at least 60% of the purchase price in cash. Also, the revised mortgage regulation indicates that the money a buyer could borrow can range anywhere between 200 million to 600 million Korean won. If someone wants to buy a house that is worth 1.5 billion won, the maximum amount of money they could borrow is 600 million won. However, the mortgage limit will be capped at 400 million won for homes valued at over 1.5 billion and up to 2.5 billion. Lastly, the cap will be fixed at 200 million won for those above 2.5 billion. Regarding the government's policies, a real estate columnist and professor of real estate science claimed that it could slow down the pace of housing price increases, but it would take some time to actually see the results. Let's take a listen.
The good thing is that it can reduce transaction volumes and ensure that only actual residents can buy. The downside, however, is that those who really want to buy will still buy houses even if it's inconvenient. So I am not sure if it's enough to push prices down. What it can achieve is a reduction in transactions and a slight slowdown in price growth.
Since it curbs demand, the advantage is that it aims to stabilize the real estate market. Naturally, with demand being restrained, the expectation is that prices will stabilize. The downside is that similar regulations have been in place continuously, so whether it will have a real effect remains to be seen.
So clear pros and cons, but certainly it will take some time to see the results. What additional policy support or measures is the government planning to implement?
Right, Taimi. So there were two main things that were proposed. And first is the possibility of real estate taxation. And the second is curbing and monitoring illegal housing-related activities. Regarding real estate taxation, the government presented a general plan to comprehensively consider the impact on the market and tax equity when reviewing specific reform directions, timing, and sequence. The government also stressed that illegal activities regarding housing will be strongly punished.
The government will take strong action against illegal and egregious real estate crimes that undermine housing stability for people. To this end, a real estate illegality oversight agency will be established to coordinate and plan investigations across government departments. It will also directly investigate social issues such as contract fraud and housing price manipulation.
Government agencies say they are committed, claiming that now is the golden opportunity to actually stabilize the market before it becomes impossible for ordinary citizens to afford a home.
All right, Chuna, thank you for the comprehensive wrap-up tonight.
Always a pleasure, Tami.